The morning sun cast long shadows across the training grounds as Frozen adjusted her combat boots for the third time. 13 weeks. That's all they had. 13 weeks to transform from ordinary citizens into United States Marines. She glanced across the formation at Finch, whose jaw was set with determination despite the nervous tremor in his hands. Sergeant Martinez paced in front of the recruits, his boots crunching against the gravel. "You think 13 weeks sounds like a long time?" he barked, his voice cutting through the crisp air. "It's nothing. Barely 3 months, and then we give you guns and grenades. We give you the power to protect, to destroy, to make decisions that will haunt you or save you." Frozen felt her stomach tighten. She had enlisted for reasons she kept private. Our brother lost overseas. A desire to prove herself in a world that constantly underestimated her. Finch had his own demons. She'd learned that much during their brief conversations in the chow hall. He came from a small town where opportunities were scarce, where the Marines represented not just duty but escape. The first week had been a blur of screaming drill instructors, sleepless nights, and physical exhaustion that Frozen had never imagined possible. Her body ached in places she didn't know existed, but she endured. They all did. Finch struggled with the obstacle courses. Initially, his lanky frame wasn't built for the monkey bars and rope climbs, but he compensated with sheer willpower and an uncanny ability to memorize protocols and regulations. By week 4, something shifted. The platoon began to move as one organism. When Frozen stumbled during a 5-mile run, it was Finch who fell back, matching her pace, refusing to let her quit. "We finished together," he'd gasped between breaths. "That's what Marines do." The rifle range introduced them to the M16. Sergeant Martinez's words echoed in Frozen's mind as she held the weapon for the first time. 13 weeks, then guns. The weight of it felt heavier than its physical mass. This wasn't a toy or a prop in some action movie. This was real. This could end lives. Finch proved to be a natural marksman. His hands, so clumsy on the obstacle course, steadied perfectly when wrapped around the rifle. He could group his shots tighter than anyone else in the platoon. Frozen watched him with a mixture of admiration and concern. He seemed to find peace behind the sights, as if the weapon gave him purpose he'd been searching for his entire life. "Don't get attached to being good at this," she told him one evening as they cleaned their rifles in the armory. "It's a tool, not an identity." Finch looked at her with those gray eyes that seemed older than his 20 years. "Easy for you to say. You're good at everything: PT, academics, leadership. Some of us need to find our place however we can." She wanted to argue, to tell him he was more than his marksmanship scores, but the words died in her throat. Who was she to judge what gave someone meaning? Week 9 brought hand grenades. The instructors transformed into different beings, hyper-focused, deadly serious. There was no room for error here. A mistake with a grenade didn't earn you extra push. It earned you a coffin. Frozen stood in the throwing pit, the cold metal sphere heavy in her palm. Pull the pin, count, throw. Simple mechanics hiding catastrophic consequences. Her first throw was textbook perfect, an arc that would make any instructor proud. But as the explosion tore through the designated impact zone, sending dirt and debris skyward, reality crashed over her like a wave. This was what they were training for, not the parade ground ceremonies or the dress blues. This, controlled violence, organized destruction. Finch threw next. His grenade traveled even further than hers, landing precisely in the target zone. But when he turned away from the pit, his face was ashen. That night, he skipped dinner. Frozen found him behind the barracks, staring at his hands. 13 weeks, he whispered. "They gave us 13 weeks, and now we can do this. Kill people. That's what grenades do, right? They kill people." She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. "They teach us to protect people. The weapons are just..." "Don't," Finch interrupted. "Don't tell me they're just tools. I'm not stupid, Frozen. I know what I signed up for. I thought I'd feel different, stronger. Instead I feel scared." "Good," she said firmly. "If you weren't scared, I'd be worried. Fear keeps you sharp, keeps you human." The final weeks accelerated into a countdown. Combat exercises, live fire drills, simulated battles where they learned to move as a unit, each Marine covering the other's blind spots. Frozen and Finch became inseparable battle buddies in the truest sense, where she provided tactical thinking and leadership. He offered precision and unwavering loyalty. Graduation day arrived with ceremony and circumstance. Families filled the stands, cameras flashing as recruits became Marines. Sergeant Martinez stood before them one final time, his expression softer than they'd ever seen it. 13 weeks, he said quietly. "That's all we had. And yes, we gave you guns and grenades, but that's not what makes you Marines. What makes you Marines is standing here, after everything we threw at you, still standing, still committed. The weapons are just metal and explosives. Your courage, your discipline, your loyalty to each other, that's the real weapon. Frozen caught Finch's eye across the formation. They'd survived, transformed, changed in ways they were only beginning to understand as they marched off the parade ground for the last time. Frozen realized that 13 weeks hadn't been about the guns or the grenades at all. It had been about discovering who you were when everything comfortable was stripped away. It had been about finding family in strangers who became brothers and sisters through shared struggle. Finch fell into step beside her, both of them now bearing the eagle, globe, and anchor. Whatever came next, deployment, combat, peace, or chaos, they would face it as they'd faced these 13 weeks. Together. Semperf.